Should your kids' ministry logo match your main church logo? Short answer is probably, but maybe not. Today we're going to look at some examples to hopefully help you navigate this decision in your kids' ministry brand. Your brand should serve the needs and expectations of the audience. Show them who you are before they show up. In the case of a kids' ministry logo, you've really got two audiences. One is the kids, but you've also got the mom or the parents of this kid. And if they're being fed, feel taken care of, being challenged, held accountable, finding community and good, healthy things at church, they are subconsciously hoping that same stuff is happening for their kids in kids' church or kids' ministry. And so what's a subtle way to connect the dots there? Make the two things look similar or make them look connected at least. You want the good feelings that mom has about your main church brand to map onto the kids' church brand. Okay, so how do we do this? Let's take a look at a couple of examples of different ways this can take shape. Our first example is Story Kids, a part of Story Church. You can see here, they've got a really close tie to the main church. Like the main icon is basically a redrawn version of the church logo. We went with a Captain Underpants illustration style for a lot of this stuff. And some of that's like preferential, or just kind of like the heart of the house there. But it also just feels free and playful, and a big thing for them across all of their ministries, whether it's adults or youth or kids or any of the pieces, is they want to really shine a light or kind of help people see themselves as a part of a bigger story, and a story that's still being written. So these things feeling kind of raw or unfinished, or the book is open, all help with that. Ocean Kids, as a part of Ocean Church, these guys have the same name, but they're chasing kind of their own theme or storyline. So visually distinct in this case, but they're aligned in name, values, and culture. So they lean heavily into this theme or storytelling that we honestly came up with as a part of the rebrand process. We were talking through, what are some things that could serve as visuals for this thing. We didn't want to go into the stereotypical, beachy stuff. It just didn't feel like a fit here. But one thing that is true in Florida is the weather is nuts. It changes, from the morning to the afternoon pretty significantly. There's always clouds, whether they're angry or happy clouds. That's kind of all over the place and could, again, shift over the course of a day. And said, hey, that sounds a lot like little kids. Morning could start great and they're really riding the emotional roller coaster and processing some big feelings. And, a beautiful kind of punchline to that is, hey, God is there on the rainy days and the sunny days. He's there with you in the ups and the downs and whatever you're feeling, like he is there in that with you. And so it served both as a interesting storyline, something that you could go play with and express in a lot of different ways in the space, but also like a really rich metaphor. So regardless of graphic style, whether you love it or hate it or whatever, the bedrock meat or truth is still there. North Highlands Kids is example number 3. In this case, again, we've got pretty close alignment with the main church brand. Just to give a quick backstory, so the main church has this pretty significant local landmark. It's this huge tower. It's got this interesting design motif and these architectural pieces that we ended up pulling apart and using in a lot of the different ministry brands. They wanted there to be some consistent elements expressed in different ways across the different ministries. You can see that here with the kids, and we ended up making little fun characters, softening those edges, making them a little puffier and fatter, and having, again, something you can kind of break apart and use in a lot of different ways. And another thing that we double down on is anything that's distinctly unique or memorable or weird or funny or interesting about what a kid might walk in and experience. In this case, it's Felicia the Unicorn. This is one where, they had it started, kind of took on a life of its own. It started as a countdown video. Kids would lose their mind. This dancing unicorn came up on the screen and the kids got really excited about it. And rather than fighting the tide, they leaned into it and said, hey, let's actually use Felicia's powers for good. And they started recording memojis on their phones and use the unicorn thing. And so now Felicia does announcements and teaches scriptures and helps kind of manage the kids in other ways. So again, it's silly, it's weird, it's funky, but it also sets the stage for what to expect and serves as kind of like a visual tie-in. So when a kid comes on their first Sunday and they get a Felicia sticker, they leave happy and connected. Our last example is Reality Church. This one is aligned in name, And there's some more subtle kind of tie-ins. You know, we've got this gold color. We picked color harmonies that match or blend with the main church, which is another thing that we do pretty commonly. We've also got this little diamond shape that you'll see as kind of like some through lines in the two ministry there. But the real big emphasis for this one was we want our kids to feel seen. We want this to match and like the things that they see and experience in their daily life and the rich culture in Miami. We want that to show up in the brand here. So you've got some local food, clothing, music, local plants, animals, even some local landmarks or places where they might shop or live or eat. Like we wanted to feel integrated in their world and feel really vibrant and a place to call home. And they wanted to be a church for the city and for their local community. Now, to recap, there are some exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, we're looking for ways to tie in with big church, whether it's really intense, obvious, very closely aligned, or it's a little bit more subtle. Another one is we want to double down on the special, weird, funky, interesting, memorable things about your kids' ministry. And number 3 is use this as a teaching tool. So again, we zoom out of graphic design conversation and preferences and like, is this color on trend or not? And we're really kind of immediately or as quickly as possible pivoting over into, how do we get to the truth here? How do we use this as a teaching resource where things come back to story and what's core to the values that we're walking through here? As a result, my normal advice for folks is that they should be pretty closely aligned. This is not the case with youth and young adults ministries, which we'll talk about at another time. But ideally, we take these case by case. We want to get in, listen, talk through your unique situation and find out the healthiest fit for you guys today. So if you'd like to talk more about working with Brightcoal on your kids' logo, you could schedule a call at brightcoal.com. We've got a bunch of other resources and materials there. And you may say, hey, that's kind of overkill right now, or we're just looking for something a little bit smaller in scope. We also have a free resource that you can download. You go over to the shop and use promo code COLKIDS, and you can download the little kids vector pack that we've got there for free. You can use that as a permanent or temporary Band-Aid solution. But in any case, I would love to chat more with you, answer any questions you have, and wish you the best of luck. And until next time, adios.